You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, do you have an idea for a podcast but don't know where to start? Or do you have an already existing podcast that you want to take to the next level? Well, check out WeKnowPodcasting.com. From concept development to theme music to editing to logos, WeKnowPodcasting.com is a one-stop shop for all things pod. Don't hesitate to hit us up. We're very nice. This week, we're joined by Horror Movie Night co-host Kyle Kuchta to discuss Orgy, an industrial nu metal band that rose to fame thanks to a questionable cover of New Order's 1983 classic, Blue Monday. Was Kyle right to ask his parents for an Orgy poster for Christmas? Or did his middle school newspaper make the right call in simply referring to them as the opening band on the 1998 Family Values Tour? Stay tuned to see how we feel.
Tell me now, how do I feel? One hit is all you need to make the money guaranteed, and you can live off royalties forever. And it makes me wonder, is it just a wonder, or is it one hit thunder?
Hey Kyle, welcome to One Hit Thunder. I hear you all the time on Horror Movie Night, so we're finally meeting, but I kind of wish we were meeting under different circumstances. You are here to talk about Orgy, Blue Monday, and I got to ask you, man, why?
There's only one reason.
Okay.
There's only one
All
reason.
right.
And when I was reflecting upon it, well, first off, thank you. And I listen to you guys all the time. Well, I listen to Matt no matter what. He's in my head,
Yep.
in my dreams, in my nightmares.
Me too.
But I'm a big fan of your show, and I'm very happy to be here. And listen, I picked this song. I picked this band, really, because it was formative for me at a time where I was just starting to line my bedroom walls with music posters, and I wanted a Godsmack one, and I wanted a Rob Zombie one, and I asked for Christmas for an Orgy poster. I put it literally in my Christmas list, without understanding that Orgy had a different meaning. I just knew them strictly as the band Orgy. So when
I want an Orgy poster.
When I asked my parents for an Orgy poster, I knew better. I linked them to the poster that I found online that I wanted, but I just imagined their faces when I asked for such a thing. And you know what? I fucking had that. They got it for me for Christmas. Bless them.
So I have a similar story to not wanting an Orgy poster. But when this album came out, we'll get into it. The formation of this band doesn't make a ton of sense to me because it says that they formed in 1994, but then their first show was in 1998 after they had gotten signed, so I couldn't really figure out how that worked out. But pretty much they played a radio station event and then immediately was on the first Family Values tour.
Yeah.
So 1998, I am in 6th grade, and I'm a little music nerd. So, of course, I joined the school newspaper to do CD reviews.
Yes.
Now, I joined the school newspaper to primarily review DC Talk and Five Iron Frenzy releases that no one cared about.
It's your evangelism.
Yeah, but there was another kid who was trying to do concert reviews. So he went to the Family Values tour and he wrote a review about the Family Values tour. And again, we're in sixth and 7th grade. We don't know what an orgy is. So we were trying to figure out why the school newspaper editor, the teacher in charge of everything, changed his article to just refer to them as the opening band, but never saying who they were throughout the entire article. So yeah, no, it was definitely a name that meant nothing to middle schoolers that loved this band so much.
That's right. That's right. And I sought the album out, and it wasn't a heavy rotation necessarily for me, But, because...
You're, of course, referring to their album Candy Ass.
Candy
that
Ass.
was
Which,
apparently inspired by a drag queen that they met.
Yeah, who the fuck? I don't know. I don't know anything. I later in my life, I got that Family Values tour VHS that came from that first. And, no, I don't think there was any songs off of Candy Ass that were even on that tape.
Probably not.
It's the whole band's been a disappointment from the jump for me. That poster didn't deserve any rent, in my fucking bedroom.
Look,
but, what are you going to do?
I know that Chris
Make
has got
choices.
some mixed feelings on us doing this episode, but there is, and we'll get there is one part of the Orgy story that is the most satisfyingly depressing thing I've ever read in my entire researching of any band that I am so excited for us to get to. But yes, let's start in the beginning. Band formed in 1994. They were not new to music. Their guitarist originally played in some 80s hair metal bands. Their drummer was in the Electric Love Hogs, and the vocalist produced Coal Chamber's debut album all before Orgy found Jonathan Davis, and he was like, "You're going to be the first band I signed to this label that Reprise Records is giving me." And thus, Orgy's Candy Ass began getting recorded.
Interesting.
The Electric Love Hogs was the band with John Feldman from Goldfinger.
Yes.
And which I've never heard the band, but so basically Jonathan Davis rounded up a bunch of ringers, guys who played in other bands, and formed a band. And you know what? This band sounds exactly like that.
So,
well, if this band was supposedly formed in '94, but it took this long, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of they had they were in the studio for other musicians, or they were producing other shit that they could not. They were technically a band ready to make something, but it took them 4 years.
look, and one thing that I learned very quickly while reading up on this, one thing I learned very quickly reading up on this band was only one member of the band was really invested in the band. By the second album, they were all doing different side projects.
No kidding. No kidding, dude. It is a real one and done band, it feels like. And I understand that there may be questions of its authenticity to belong here on One Hit Thunder, which I understand.
No,
So,
it's
Chris,
legit. It's legit.
So, Chris, what the fuck's your
Yeah,
problem?
no. I think it's legit for us to be covering this. I guess my joke about why at the beginning was just more like, this is bad.
So this is going to be the biggest compliment I'm going to give the band Orgy, not to spoil the Blunder Thunder portion of the show. Yeah, Orgy's a bad band. I actually don't think that this is a bad cover of the song.
Can I argue with you about that much?
I want to read something because there is the biggest piece of irony I've read today. So here's what I'll say about the song. According to the band, for starters, they said that they really wanted to do the original Blue Monday justice, and they expected that they would get a lot more criticism than they actually did. They went on to say that they felt lucky to have covered it, and that it felt like something that they would have written. And a lot of critics agreed with them. One person who very vocally disagreed with them was Buck Cherry's Josh Todd, who in a Spin magazine interview said, "All this song sounds like is a mechanical Nine Inch Nails ripoff."
And that's what gravitated me towards the band anyway. That's all I wanted.
Okay, this band is the most boring version of Nine Inch Nails possible. That's my problem with them. It's just so boring. I listen to the whole... It is mind-numbingly boring as this cover is. Dude, the original is badass. The original of this song is so good. It's so futuristic. And what's crazy about it is I was trying to find the right way to put this, to express my feelings about this song. What I said that, when you cover a song, you put your own spin on it, or you do a cooler version, you try your best to make the song even better. You certainly don't do a worse version of the song. But I couldn't really explain at first why this was worse. But then I saw a quote from Ed Simons of the Chemical Brothers, who had teamed up in the 90s with Bernard Sumner from New Order on the song Out of Control. And here is what Ed from the Chemical Brothers said about it. And this completely summed up exactly what I was having a hard time finding the words to say. He said, What is that? Blue Monday is one of the most futuristic records ever, and it still sounds like that. It seems to be a record that doesn't need covering, especially because I've heard the remake and it didn't need covering by that band. Atrocious. And I couldn't agree more because, dude, that's the original New Order song is from 1983 and it still sounds great. And what is so cool about it is, well, what's cool about the vocal delivery in it is that it's almost like a monotone, robotic, moody delivery of the vocal. And what's cool about it is that it doesn't go to that place where Orgy takes it. That's very unnecessary. It doesn't need to come up there. Some songs need that. They need those peaks and valleys. This song did not need this. This song was a mood, and Orgy is not a mood. Orgy is a radio rock, like, generic version of Marilyn Manson.
I think that's the Nine Inch Nails is not. Yeah, Nine Inch Nails is not the appropriate comparison. They are drinking from the goblet that is Marilyn Manson, 100%, in every element of this song. And look, I owned Candy Ass, and I think even at the time that I bought Candy Ass, I was like, I don't know about this, which for a 7th grader is pretty prescient, because a 7th grader loves fucking anything that you put in front of them.
No doubt, no doubt. You're trying to find your way, so you love everything or vehemently hate a couple things.
Yeah.
Like, you've chosen a couple things to really hate, but you love everything else, and then it just sort of sifts through. Candy Ass fell through pretty quickly on my end. As soon as that poster came in, it was all downhill from there. You know what? I put up on my Etsy store, and somebody bought it like within 2 weeks.
Nice.
So some other 5th, 6th grader is very happy to own a Orgy poster. Is that still how that works? Is it cool? Is Orgy cool?
It's cool to have an Orgy poster, I'm sure. Well, actually, no, it's very much not cool to be an Orgy fan, because I'm going to get to the fact that I was talking about. So the band released albums until 2005, and then they went on a 7-year hiatus. This was due to all of the other members having multiple side projects.
Did anybody have a side project that was worth noting?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Eventually, the only remaining member was the lead singer, Jay Gordon, and he decided to reform the band under a new name. In 2013, they launched an Indiegogo campaign to record a brand new album, and they set their goal at $100,000 to record their next feature-length album, and the campaign ended with them raising $8,739, falling 92% shy of their original asking goal. That's how many people fell off after they bought Candy Ass in 1998.
Holy shit.
I gotta say, I feel I am talking mad shit right now, but I came into this with an open mind. I didn't know much about Orgy. I knew they had that song Stitches, and
yes, that was like their minor follow-up that didn't cross over out of the rock radio.
That was definitely in a movie that we watched for Horror Movie Night too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Almost positive. I can't remember which one, but I'm positive it was.
And it's like,
and I think I chose it.
It's like the visuals in the music videos are like almost cool. Like,
right.
It's like almost there, but it's like the band themselves. It's like everything about the music video is cool except the band themselves look like kids getting dressed up for a school talent show to look like a rock band or something. It's very strange. I came into this with an open mind, thinking, not knowing much about Orgy, and thinking that maybe they were more in the world of the Killers than they were nu metal. And they are They are not. They are way more in the world of nu metal.
Well, then there's other bands that I realized that I ended up liking as I grew up that I don't necessarily think that they have their roots in Orgy by any means, but like a band like The Faint, which is a great band, a little dancier, but still like sort of that industrious dance and glam in some ways. And it's like, I want that. Like, that's actually the thing I want that Orgy was not giving me. Orgy was, when you said radio rock, it's like, that's for sure it. Like, it's as industrial as radio rock can get while still being shitty. And like, I listened to the album again for this, and I mean, the first 2 songs I'm like reminiscent and like nostalgic for. I'm like, yes, like, but then I realized I must have only listened to those 2 songs, Blue Monday and I think a song called Gender, which is somewhere in the middle. And like the rest of it, I had no recollection of. So clearly, I talked a big game. If anybody's listened to Horror Movie Night, they know that is my fucking MO. It was talking a big game from maybe 9 years old to 15. So Orgy was a
Kyle,
victim of that. I was a victim of Orgy. I don't know.
Yeah, Kyle, I want to point out that Gender is the track right after Blue Monday. So I feel like you listened to the first 2 tracks and then you walked away while Blue Monday was playing a couple times and Gender started playing. And you're like, I remember this song.
Yeah. And they're really, they're not great tracks. They're not. Stitches is fine, but I loved Blue Monday, man. I loved it. It just fit everything that I wanted at that time in my life.
Look, I get what Chris is saying, though, at the same time, because, like, this is, you could do a worse cover of Blue Monday, for sure. But I don't think, like, Blue Monday, the song itself, is such a good song that, like, yes, obviously, if your first experience hearing that song is this version of it, you're going to be like, fuck yeah, this song's great, because it's a great song that they're working off of to begin with. But then eventually you do go and listen to the original version and you're like, oh, this is better.
Yes!
Like, this is so much better.
And also, it was futuristic in 1983. It sounded so great in 1983 that, like, that was only 14 years prior to that, and the song still sounded great. Like, sonically, it still sounded great. And them picking the getting all, like, you know, yelling the how does it feel, you're missing the point. You're missing the mood of the song, and that's what drives me crazy about this is
well, I can categorically tell you that my fandom of Orgy's version of Blue Monday was very short-lived, because this song came out, this was the first time I'd ever heard this song, the song Blue Monday. I was like, oh, I'm not really into industrial that much, but I'm kind of digging this. And then, like, probably a month later, The Wedding Singer came out, and I bought the Wedding Singer soundtrack that has the New Order version of Blue Monday on it. And I was like, oh, this is an astronomically better version of this song. And then I did not really think about the Orgy song again outside of, like, when I'm watching something like Not Another Teen Movie and it shows up on, like, the football scene in that movie, or, like, you know, like the song would pop up in things and I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. That was a band.
Hey there, I am Johnny Christ from Avenged Sevenfold, and I've got a podcast called Drinks with Johnny you're going to want to check out. I sit down with a bunch of different people from all different walks of life, from professional wrestlers to actors, comedians, fighters, musicians, everything in between. I'm just looking to make some friends and have a good time doing it. So if that sounds like something you're into, go check out Drinks with Johnny, streaming everywhere now.
What's up, everybody? I am Finn McKenty, host of the Punk Rock NBA podcast, part of the Sound Talent Media Podcast Network. My podcast is all about doing what you love for a living, and every week I sit down and talk to people who have done exactly that. For example, musicians like Tommy from Between the Buried and Me, Matt from Periphery, Lil Lotus and Shinigami, among many others, photographers, artists, designers, YouTubers like Glenn Fricker and Sarah Dici, and I unpack exactly how they got to where they are today with the goal of helping you do the same. So if that sounds cool, you can listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com, and I'll see you there.
Hi, friends. The world got you down. Don't be sad. Listen to $2 Late Fee with Zach and Dustin.
$2 Late Fee is the podcast that celebrates the best decade of entertainment, the 1980s. We pick a movie and soundtrack from our youth that we loved and see if it holds up today. We also interview your favorite celebrities from that era.
All in the spirit of positivity and togetherness. Check us out at $2LateFee.com.
I feel like we're starting to get mean, okay? And
I'll talk about Gender again.
I mean, these people, they might be nice people, but I really gave it a solid shot. I watched a live. One of the first things when I looked up live, there's a whole concert. It's from like the time that they were hitting hard, and it was just so annoying, and the songs were so boring. It was like they came out, they had this light box behind them, maybe it said Orgy, and they came out and they had, you know, looking all wild, you know, looking like they look, and the bass player, like, they came out and the crowd's cheering, and he like had his bass, like he's holding it so it's standing straight up, and he's just like staring at the crowd. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is their thing. They're trying to be like Korn. I can imagine Korn doing that.
Well, Korn signed them. That's,
right.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I know.
the starting point there, yeah.
But then it's like, okay, well, maybe they're like, they are a mood. Maybe they're moody. And then the singer comes out and he's like, make some fucking noise, everybody. I'm like, Jesus, would you pick a lane? What are you guys? What is your style?
Right.
What is, I didn't even understand their like look. Like if you were going for like a Marilyn Manson thing, you didn't go far enough. You just like put on a little bit of makeup and spiked your hair like and dressed like you went to Hot Topic. Hot Topic probably didn't exist yet, but
no, Hot Topic existed. As a kid in 1998, Hot Topic definitely existed.
All right. Well, they look like a Hot Topic in the 90s.
You're absolutely right though about their look, because when I sat down to watch the video for Blue Monday, I definitely remember in my brain, I'm like, these guys looked like Static X and like Power Man 5000 or Mudvayne, where it was like tons of makeup, like, and then I'm like, this is like some eyeliner and like a little bit of some like baby powder thrown on their face to make them look a little paler. Like it wasn't what my memory was. I definitely remembered them looking way more extreme than they actually were.
Yeah,
and I
1,000,000%.
I don't get what. This isn't just on Orgy. This is on. There was a lot of bands at this time where like it would be this weird metal, but like with a very monotone, droney singing style over top of it. Like it, I don't know how to explain what I'm talking about, but like this same year, a movie that I liked at the time. I can't promise that it was a good album, but. Or a good movie, but Dead Man on Campus came out. Have either of you ever seen Dead Man on Campus with Zach Morris?
No, but I just looked at a list of movies that I want to watch, and Dead Man on Campus is on there.
So, very long story short, the concept of Dead Man on Campus, it was one of the first MTV movies. It's about two guys who party too hard their freshman year of college, realize that they're about to flunk out, and find out that their school has a rule where if your roommate commits suicide, the school will give you straight A's for that semester. And since it's a 3-person room, they decide to move their current roommate, Jason Segel, out of their room and try to find the most depressed kid on campus to move in and try to push him to kill himself so that they can get their A's. It's a horrifically outdated, not aged well movie whatsoever. But one of the kids that they bring in is this depressed industrial nu metal musician who sings exactly like this. And like the song that he's playing is a song called Sperm. And I swear it was like, they were like, we got to do an Orgy parody. Like it sounds so much like Orgy's Blue Monday.
This last one is called Sperm.
There's no way that they weren't directly parodying Orgy's cover of Blue Monday with the sound that they gave this band.
Well, that's what I think. It's just such a... this goes along with what we're all saying. It's just such a of its time, flash in the pan scenario, right? Yeah. Like it's just... and that's why to me it's like, it doesn't surprise me that it only charted at that like time, but it also doesn't surprise me that it's a song that we all remember and can talk about in some capacity, because like it's stuck and it was played in all the right places for us to know about it or remember it or to have it jog our memory.
Let's take a second to look at what was happening on the top 10 when this thing was peaking at 56.
Please.
So this thing peaked at 56 on April 24th, 1999.
My birthday. My 19th birthday.
There you go. So on your 19th birthday, here's some of the songs that were in the top 10.
For you.
Yeah. Number 10, Goo Goo Dolls Slide. Number 9, past song that we discussed on the podcast, C'est La Vie by Bewitched. Number 8, Angel of Mine by Monica. Number 5, another song we've talked about on this show, Kiss Me by Sixpence None the Richer. Mm-hmm. And I genuinely like these top 3, actually. Number 3 was Sugar Ray's Every Morning. Number 2 was Cher's Believe. And number 1 was TLC's No Scrubs. And like, I could see why Orgy's weird, like, we're kind of like what Cher's doing, but rock sound like.
Well, this style, man, it sounds manufactured.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's emotionless. There's no, I don't.
How does it feel, Chris?
This is how it feels. Is there were people doing the industrial music of the 90s, Nine Inch Nails being at the pinnacle of that, and even Marilyn Manson to a certain extent. Marilyn Manson not being anywhere near as good as Nine Inch Nails, but at least with Marilyn Manson, it was interesting. It was theatrical. It was whatever. Yeah. And of course, we're putting aside him being a huge piece of shit in recent, the revelations in recent years. But it's the same thing you could say about any style of music. If you're going to make music, why make something that's so lesser of that style? Why not strive? And I say that, and the song was a hit. It was a cover, but it was a hit. So maybe this is me, a guy with no hits, saying that, why don't they do this? But it's just all those radio rock bands you were saying, man, they're so freaking boring. That's my problem. Maybe it's a style I don't like. It's fine if it's a style I'm not into, but I'm not necessarily into metal, but I can hear Dillinger Escape Plan and be like, that's badass. That's really cool.
Right.
Like, that's interesting,
It's certainly it's style aside, it's objectively stale. Or emotion, or manufactured is a great term for it. And it's like, I think that, in industrial music or even any sort of electronic forward music could fall into that really easily. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, so then don't. Don't do that. Like, be a Nine Inch Nails or be a Aphex Twin, or like be something that offers something to it. And Orgy was not that
even
long term.
Even within its own genre, which it feels so safe. You know what I mean? Like, even the name Candy Ass sounds like a 30-year-old trying to be edgy to a teenager. Like, it's not right. Like, when you're listening to this, like, I guess this is the thing that I had to think about is, like, they're on the Family Values tour at the time that this song comes out. And, like, regardless of your opinions of any of these artists, Incubus, Rammstein, Ice Cube, Limp Bizkit, and Korn. And I would argue that all of those artists, whether you like them or not, have a sound that will grab you. Like, this is Limp Bizkit $3 bill, y'all era, where it's like, oh, this doesn't sound like anything I've heard before. This is Korn just about to put out Follow the Leader, where it's like, this doesn't sound like anything I've heard before. This is Rammstein, where you're like, what the fuck is this? And then Orgy comes out on stage.
The opening band,
it's kicking off the show, and you're like,
revisionist history.
But then I also think about what was coming out that same year. Like, I don't like Power Man 5000 or Static X, but this is also the same year as Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe. Like, this feels so tame compared to those other bands. And then a year later, you're having Mudvayne put out Dig, and like, I don't know how to feel about that song, but I remember the second I heard that song and saw that video, it was burned into my brain because it was so out there. Like, this, I think, Chris, you're right. Everything about this album really does feel like an album put together by a committee that was like, if Korn's for the high schoolers, we got to make a band that's like the middle school version to get kids into Family Values tour to like listen to these other bands.
Bro, worked for me. Worked for me. Do you guys have a favorite one-hit wonder that is a cover? Do you guys have a favorite?
Oh, that's a good question.
I remember this conversation happening in the Facebook group.
Torn was one, right? Was Torn one?
Torn was technically a cover, but I feel like I think that's different than this, because Torn was like her covering a song that wasn't really famous. I feel like this is way more comparable to like Save Ferris doing Come On Eileen, where it was already a super established song. I would say,
I'm putting you on the spot.
No. But I push back sometimes on this band being a one-hit wonder, even though they probably by every stretch of the imagination are. I think Alien Ant Farm's cover of Smooth Criminal was really good. It did something interesting with a song, whereas like I think that Blue Monday Orgy is very comparable to Save Ferris's Come On Eileen, where it's like they really didn't do that much to change up the original construction of the song to begin with. They just kind of played it their style. So like for Save Ferris, it was like we added some horns, but like otherwise that song is pretty much a spot on cover just with horns and a female vocalist. And this is just like a slightly more angry version, but like they're not like doing it much faster than the original one. They're just
it's
it's hard to explain.
It's just an inferior version to the original. That's my problem.
It's a copy
here.
of a copy, is almost in a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, New Order is amazing.
New Order's great.
They're so awesome. Like
and there's some great songs that people like. True Faith. I think True Faith by New Order is such a great song.
Awesome song. I mean,
I'm going to say something. Yeah. I'm going to say something a little blasphemous, and I'm going to paraphrase a friend of mine who once told me, I don't know the difference between apes, monkeys, and gorillas, and at this point, I don't want to know. So I'm going to say the same thing. I don't know the difference between New Order, Joy Division, the Smiths, and at this point, I don't know if I want to know, and I know that's blasphemous.
Well, first of all, New Order came from the ashes of
Joy Division.
Yeah. Okay. After Ian's suicide, they went on to form New Order. So there is a crossover there. The Smiths are a lot less electronic. I mean, they did have little elements, especially in their best song, but they were more of like a rock band. Yeah.
Good. The fact of the matter is I do actually want to know. I hate to admit that I don't know a thing. So continue telling me about New Order's greatness.
Well, they were just
because I don't know shit.
They're very electronic forward band. Like they're very 80s. They are like one of the quintessential sound of the 80s bands. I think they're cool. They're unique. They're original. Whether people are going to like them. I mean, his vocal delivery is an acquired taste on some of those songs, but I like it. I think it's interesting. And I think they're a great band.
I mean, if you haven't heard the original, check that out. I mean, of their big singles, like I said, True Faith is a really great song. Bizarre Love Triangle is like just a masterpiece of a song. And then there's a ton of deep cuts.
I'm looking at, I do know Ceremony and Temptation. And okay, so I know a little bit more than I think I realize, but they were never formative for me. You know what I mean? So it's like I never had their
my legitimate fandom of New Order came from constantly loving songs and then finding out they were covers of New Order songs. Like repeatedly.
I think that's how I knew Temptation. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, that was a really good cover. I guess I'll check out the original, and then being like, yep, oh, okay, this is better. This is the better version of that.
Kyle, you brought up a good comparison earlier. The Faint is such a band that I feel like is in the same lane using those. I don't know if you call the Faint industrial, but they're definitely on the borderline of it. And they're so interesting. Yeah. It just feels like art, and this feels like major label
commerce.
Corporate.
Truly. Art versus commerce.
It feels it feels like corporate as hell. Hey, the only thing I can say is that maybe these guys this is the best thing I can say about Orgy. Maybe these guys are nice.
That's all we can hope for.
That's all. Look, maybe they don't deserve.
I very
this.
quickly realized in the recording of this that I will not be tagging their.
Please don't.
Their social media handles on this one.
Don't. Yeah,
don't do that.
Hard pass. But the thing is like if there's only the one guy left. Like, and everybody went on to do other projects. Everybody was already doing other projects before Orgy. Orgy's just another thing, right?
I'm going to try to think of some other positive things to say about Orgy. How about this? They all seem like they play their instruments adequately.
Yeah, absolutely. Or else they wouldn't be in Orgy.
Yeah, right, exactly. Singers seems to sing on key, on pitch.
When I think of Blue Monday, I think of the Orgy version first.
Oh, okay. All
and
right.
That's not helpful.
Yeah,
that's not nice.
But it's legitimate.
They got $10 from my dad once.
There you go for a poster. Their music videos look pretty cool.
Yeah, Stitches was sick.
That video looks really great, minus the way the band looks in it.
I mean, do we have to ask the question? I feel like we kind of know what we're all going to say.
I mean,
I'm going to say Thunder.
Okay. I was gonna say that it's like you don't even need to say it because it's just it might be the first one where it's just a fact.
No, it admittedly, like, personally, in my heart, I have a soft spot for it, but objectively and just clearly, as we've been talking about it, you know where I stand too. It's just not it. It ain't it.
It ain't it.
Kyle, real quick, and this is going to come out the last week of September, you've got a short film that's like just showing up on all different types of film festivals. Anything that the One Hit Thunder listeners should know about? Any shows coming in October or November? It's a good spooky Christmas Halloween combo there.
Yeah, I did a short called The Woodsman, which is a short about a Christmas tree salesperson trying to sell his last trees from his lot on Christmas Eve. And as the night goes on, he becomes more and more anxious and drunk, and it's just it's a debacle for him. And it's very sort of like Tales from the Crypty on like less than $5,000 budget. But we are screening a bunch of places in October. We're at the Charlotte Film Festival in Charlotte, North Carolina. We are going to be at the Hex After Dark Film Festival in Calgary, Knoxville Horror Fest in Knoxville, Tennessee, Sin City Horror Fest in Vegas. If you just go to kylekuchta.com, you'll find all the dates. And then I won't shut up about it on Instagram. So if you follow me on Instagram at krkuchta, you'll see it all. It's fairly obnoxious, but also it's very exciting for me. So you'll just have to deal until the festival runs over.
Congratulations, man. That's badass.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. It's been cool to hear people dig on it because it could have just been another thing. But we did it, and people dig it. So that's awesome.
Nice.
And listeners, if you're enjoying this chat with Kyle, go over to patreon.com/OHT podcast because, I don't know, maybe Kyle can give Chris some good October Halloween movie recommendations.
I love that idea. And Kyle, as a horror movie night listener, what are you drinking over there?
So I did actually have a listener of Horror Movie Night gifted me a blue raspberry me.
Wow.
But as we are recording this is the first of 3 things I'm going to record tonight, and I could not crack open the mead as it is very heavy.
Gotcha.
But that is what I would have paired with this, and I was really contemplating it. So I will just say that is what I'm drinking and not tell you what I'm actually drinking, which has 0 Blue Monday in it, or 0 Orgy, 0 candy ass.
Gotcha.
At all.
You could have drank a Pabst Blue Ribbon. That would have worked.
You know I would have loved to, too.
Shake off your past mistakes. The world can still be.
This has been One Hit Thunder. One Hit Thunder is hosted by Chris Fafalios of the bands Punchline Pack and Another Cheetah and produced by Matt Kelly of Geekscape.net. Underneath me, you're hearing the Punchline song Let It Rise off their album Thrilled. Visit punchline.com for merch, tour dates, and upcoming news. Also, we're on Patreon. Become a patron and get bonus content, early episodes, and a chance to vote on future episodes at patreon.com/OHT podcast. Do you want to start a podcast? Then contact Chris and myself at weknowpodcasting.com for how we can make your show sound as professional as possible. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app. And tune in next week for more One Hit Thunder.
That switch, now you can feel that call. Let it rise off of you. Now you're free that it's gone. What are you waiting for? Yeah, we're all gonna die. That's why you take the chance. That's why you start tonight.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.
Hello out there. Yes, hello out there, everyone. I'm Hal Schwartz.
And I'm Flynn McLean. Together we host None But the Brave, a podcast dedicated to the music and career of Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce and E Street Band are on tour right now for the first time in 6 years, and we're taking a detailed look at what's happening on stage in our bi-weekly episodes.
We've also been recently joined by some very exciting guests, including rock journalist Warren Zanes and Stephen Hayden, Backstreet's Magazine founder Charles Cross, and Barstool's Kirk Minahan.
If you're a diehard Springsteen fan, this is the show for you.
So please subscribe to None But the Brave on your favorite podcasting platform, and we hope to see you further on up the road.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you.
Hi, this is Krista Makes, host of Krista Makes a Podcast. The theme of the podcast is songwriting. Each week, my musical guest picks a defining song from their career to discuss, critique, and analyze during the show. So please join me for some fun and insight into some of the greatest songs ever written and recorded. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.